Hi everyone. This is the Lord of the Flies podcast. I'm your host, Tosh Peoples, and these are my guest speakers.
I'm Cora.
I'm Misha.
And I'm Quinn.
In this podcast, we're going to talk about the religious ideology of Lord of the Flies through chapters 9 through 12.
The religious conflicts and religious ideologies that arise in chapters 9 through 12 of Lord of the Flies. Does anyone want to start us off?
I can. So my question is, what religious themes or concepts are explored in the text? And I said, one theme is the idea of sin and the evil within humanity. I noticed that when they realized they didn't have any sexuality norms to give one another, they started just acting crazy. Jack went on a killing spree and started abusing people, and that's just a sin where humans are flawed and prone to wrongdoing, and that's what Jesus tried to prevent.
And I think that also adds to the just human nature, and this has been seen since the beginning of the book. It's just the human nature of everything. If there's no consequences for your actions, people will begin to slowly almost develop back to a state of a very primal state. And another thing that the reason that religion kind of touches into this is with Simon, and he was probably the calmest person on the island, and we see this because he was very calm. He almost was like a Jesus-esque figure, and that was very important in the novel, especially after he was killed, to basically show that any humanity was lost at that time.
Yeah. I think that once you start to get disconnected from society enough, people start to lose their faith and people start to question reality, and they're no longer religious. Because from my experience, most private school boys are pretty religious, but and Exodus 20:13 says not to kill, and they obviously murdered 2 people. So it was so they break a lot of they sin a lot on the island, and I think that plays a huge role.
Yeah, adding... Guys, how am I going to talk in this? Okay, so adding on to what Tosh said, where the main religious belief is, the main theme is the struggle between being good and being evil, and a good representation of that is Simon's interaction with the Lord of the Flies, where Simon is the good figure on the island who has a really good understanding of that the evil is not an actual thing, but rather inside the boys.
That's a good way to transition to our next question. How do the characters grapple with dilemmas of good versus evil? They struggle with it because they don't really know what's good or what's evil, and especially Simon was the only one that was still hey, that's messed up.
Well, and definitely in chapter, again, restating this, but I feel it's very important. After he was killed, it's kind of just any sense of morals almost leaving the island, because he was the only one putting regular ideas in the minds of others, not primal and very strange psychological ideas. And I think there's a very large, there's the moral compass is almost shattered in chapter 10 with I believe chapter 11 where Piggy is brutally murdered, and I think that's a very literally any possible sense the conch was the only thing. The conch and Piggy were the only thing of civilization that really has lasted, and I believe that it was was when it was shattered and Piggy was killed, it was really the end to anything in the book that was positive, really, in any way.
Right, I think like when grappling with good and evil, they do a pretty terrible job at it, and they tend to choose whatever they think they will have the most fun with, and usually teenage boys do not have a lot of fun with doing what's good and right and proper, and that is really shown here because they don't they descend into like savagery, and they just become savages, and the power of fear is a major concept in this, and they
I also agree with that, but I'm gonna let Misha talk on this one.
I think a good representation of how they grapple with the dilemmas of good versus evil is how Ralph represents the forces of good, because he strives to mainly maintain order on the island, and he wants a very civil area with all the boys, while Jack, he mostly embodies destructiveness and evil, like Tosh said, going and killing all the pigs.
I'm also gonna add a little bit, since I got a little bit cut short. The Lord of the Flies is also considered an evil figure, and he's considered a demonic figure, and I think just after Simon spoke with the Lord of Flies, just all everything got erupted, and just it was just all messed right after that, because yeah. And then I'll let Tosh speak.
Sorry. Also, adding on to what Cora just said, I feel it's pretty ironic that the boys want to kill this beast so bad, and this beast obviously doesn't exist, but they want to kill it, and many of the Littlins believe that it's real, but they don't care for, even though they want to kill this demonic-esque beast, they don't realize that Simon is really positively trying to show them other perspectives and other ways to view this situation. However, they just kind of ignore that completely. I'll hand this off to Quinn now.
Okay, wait.
Well, sorry, going back to me, I guess. So, from going back to what Misha said, changing the question, how does the text address the issue of suffering or evil? I would say that Ralph was suffering since he was sort of the leader. He was trying to get forced into saying about what was wrong and what was right, and he was just pressured into doing wrong, even though he tried to resist, but he didn't, because he killed Simon too. It was a group thing, but I wouldn't say that Ralph is evil. I would just say that he was suffering while Jack is evil.
All right, switching gears a little bit into how do the characters' religious beliefs and spiritual journeys affect their actions? I would say that the characters don't explicitly have very many spiritual or religious beliefs or journeys, at least that we see, but they do act in a way that makes it seem like they might, because certain characters have are this is a sin, guys, or this is not okay, guys, and certain things that are really only biblically thought of, so it's implied but never explicitly said. So I think everybody's faith affects their journey in some way, but I think this but I don't think it affects them explicitly here.
I agree with that, because religion isn't really mentioned throughout the text a whole bunch. And switching gears to our next question, which will be answered by Tosh.
How does the text, another question here, sorry. How does the text reflect the religious context of its time and or place?
I think a good, religious place would be the island through symbolism. I think it kind of symbolizes the Garden of Eden. That is a religious area that God created.
I kind of disagree with you on this one. I would say that rather than the island being this haven or Garden of Eden-esque area, I would say Simon's place that he went to basically just kind of be alone and just be in peace. It's definitely, I feel like that's more of a haven than the island. And in basically, I believe the 12th chapter, we see a lot of this area burning down, which is kind of another background symbol of the continuous just deterioration of society and just like how everything has just gone bad, basically. Yeah.
I can see that, but I can also see that the Garden of Eden represented a state of innocence, or the island represented a state of innocence, like the Garden of Eden, that the boys gradually corrupt through their actions.
Okay, so let's change to a new question.
Okay, the next question is, what moral or ethical lessons does the text impart from a religious perspective?
Oh, I got this one. So a big portion of the Bible is like forgiveness and everything like that, and I feel like on the island there's not very much forgiveness, and it's really hard to be forgiving when you have no one to like help you guide you through it, and their brains are still growing and they're not able to fully grasp the idea of like we need to act like adults. They are just children.
I also feel like Simon is kind of the only person who gives forgiveness to everyone. He's very Christ-like esque figure, so that would definitely contribute to his, I guess. Adding on to another question here, what religious symbols and or kind of imagery is used and portrayed in the text?
I would say Simon's death is a good one because it's like Jesus dying and like him like
Being crucified.
yeah, and it's just like energy as he's carried surrounded by a whole bunch of beauty, and it's like a peaceful death, while like other deaths like Piggy's is just brutal.
I think the beast also represents sort of a devil-like figure, because he kind of twists the boys' minds and makes them think things that they shouldn't and be afraid of what the beast could be, but they don't realize that it's controlled in themselves.
Yeah.
What role does faith or spirituality?
That is a wrap for this podcast. Thank you guys for watching.
A quick conclusion, we just went over like the religious things and like all the religious context in the Lord of the Flies. Do you have anything to add, Quinn and Misha?
We also kind of touched on morals, but I feel like morals also contributes to
Religion?
Yeah, we also talked a lot about the different themes and symbols that were found in the chapters that represented religious beliefs.
Alright. Thank you for listening, guys.
Bye, Beiji.